Hi, I'm Sunnie Harmon with Lobby SC, a pro-business government relations firm based here in South Carolina, and we just finished up week 12 of the legislative session. It was very busy over at the State House this week. The House is trying to get a bunch of bills out of committee and onto the floor to meet its crossover deadline of April 6th, which is next Thursday. And then the Senate, because they're in perfunctory session next week, which means they will not be meeting on the Senate floor. They're only going to be focused on Senate Finance Committee, getting their budget ready and prepared to get out to the full floor. Their crossover deadline essentially became March 30th. So it was very fast and furious. Over on the Senate side, they passed a hate crimes bill out of full Judiciary Committee. They actually passed the House version. So that's a piece of legislation that's already made the crossover deadline, and it was placed on the calendar. The Senate Judiciary Committee and the full Senate actually also passed legislation to allow for craft beer sellers or craft beer breweries to be able to sell more beer. So it's a big win for the craft brewery industry. And that actually ended up passing out of Judiciary and then the full Senate this week as well. Another bill in the Senate, Senate Bill 298, dealing with how multi-state corporations file their corporate income tax. That also passed out of the Senate and has made the crossover deadline. Another piece of legislation that the Senate worked on was Senate Bill 284, which allows local governments to use workforce or use some of those accommodations in hospitality tax dollars. Would allow them to use that for workforce housing, as in addition to the other tourism related expenses that they're already allowed to use those for. There's actually a big amendment on the floor to get that out. So there's going to be a study committee in there, and there's a bunch of other details that are in that bill now than when it was introduced. And then the Ways and Means Committee in the House was busy passing out about a dozen bills, but a couple of note. House Bill 4087 updates the Enterprise Zone Act. One piece of that would allow remote workers to be counted towards those job development credits. Also, corporate license fee bill, H 3810, which is really good for those high impact startup companies. Would exempt the first $50 million of the monies they were able to raise from venture capitalists, et cetera, from those taxes and fees. And then a film incentive bill, increasing the dollars that'll go towards attracting films to South Carolina. Currently that's $10 million, and that legislation would increase that up to $30 million. So lots going on at the House and the Senate this week. As I said, the Senate's going to be in perfunctory session next week and busy focusing solely on Senate Finance, getting the budget out of there. And then you'll see the House probably spending a ton of time on the floor trying to meet that April 6th deadline. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to learn more, you can find us at lobbysc.com. Thank you, and see you next week.